Yes, lads. So today we've got a Premier League predictions video because Championship one absolutely slapped. Now, just a little sort of disclaimer, not really the right word, but we have changed sort of the branding of the channel a bit. It's now Football Insider because I feel that's more of the content that I want to make and that I feel like is wanted to be seen, if that makes sense. So you will see the names change, obviously the banner's changed and all that. That's just, I wanted to tell you why and why I've done it. Right, now getting into the predictions. In 20th, we have what would be a shock to most people. I have Bournemouth, and now purely for the reason their defence is awful. They've conceded the third most last season. They're not improving the defence. With the rumours they're linked to, none of them are defenders. I mean, the transfer window could all change this, but I think Bournemouth will be bottom of the Premier League come at the end of the season. Now, in 19th place, we have less of a shocking one. We have the capital of Brighton. Hove Albion coming in 19th. I feel they're just a weak team all over. You know, they've got a few good players here and there, but I feel that whatever they sign won't be able to keep them up this season. They struggled last season. I think they'll struggle again this season. Brighton, Hove Albion to go down this year. Now, in 18th, we have the first of our newly promoted teams. We have Norwich City in 18th. I feel out of the teams that have gone up, they are the weakest, and I feel they won't improve as much as other clubs may be able to, such as Villa and Sheffield United. So I think Norwich will be the final team to go down this season. So the first of the surviving teams this year will be Sheffield United. I feel they've got a good manager and a good core, and especially with links like Ribery and things like that coming in, I feel it can only improve them as a team. And I feel they play really nice football as it is, and I feel they'll take that into the Premier League and do very well this season. Now in 16th place we have Southampton, a team that struggled a bit, but they've started playing good football under their new manager, and I feel they'll have an alright season this year. Few additions. Jan Valery might develop a bit and become a better player, but I think 16th's fair for him. Very average season. Now in 15th we have Burnley, a team that's sort of had a good season, had an awful season, and I feel they've not quite recovered. And I feel like Vokes will be a bigger loss than many will realise when it comes to it, especially in late games where they need to throw him up top and be sort of a very aggressive figure in their team. I feel they've just not got enough quality to make sort of a more of a mid-table kind of push. I think 15th is where they'll sit this season. Now in 14th we have Newcastle, and there's all these rumours about the new owners and all this and that. I don't think it'll have an immediate impact unless it's in January or it happens very quickly. But I feel Almiron will be a big improvement to the team, but I think he needs to develop. He needs to be stronger for the Premier League. But I do feel in general they're a very decent side that could do better than 14th, but I think 14th is where they will sit this season. Now in 13th we have probably the most shocking one that I've put on here, but I do think Villa will have a very good season with Wesley coming in as their striker. I think that's how you pronounce it anyway. Obviously a record signing striker, and he's literally a Benteke coming in. And if he can do the same things Benteke did, then you know where that'll leave Aston Villa. And especially with a player like Jack Grealish, who's suited to a T to Premier League referees. He really is. Loves eating a bit of grass. And I feel that'll suit him a lot. And I think Villa will do very, very well this season compared to what many people think. Now in 12th place, we have Watford. I feel they're a good side, but I feel they fall off. I think they're making less progress compared to the teams around them, such as the teams that I've put from sort of 8th to 11th. I feel they've just made less progress in terms of who they're linked with, who they've bought, and sort of who they're retaining. So I feel 12th, an average season for them, is where I put them. And in 11th place, we have Crystal Palace, and this relies heavily on the likes of Wan-Bissaka, Zaha, and players like that, you know, key players for them, really. And I feel if they can sort of keep those players and keep building on that, I feel they will be a very, very strong team this season and very hard team to play against. And in 10th, start at the top half of the table, we have the EDL's finest, West Ham. I feel they've got a very good team with a few additions, especially Pablo Fornals. I think it's going to be a revelation in the Premier League with Felipe Anderson and players like that around him. I think he'll really, really have a good season. And I feel it only go further to sort of boost where West Ham are at the minute, and they're a club very much on the rise. And I feel, whereas the home ground's not as much as a fortress as they'd like it to be as it was in the Boleyn, I feel they'll have a very good, very, very good season. So in 9th we have Leicester City. They're a very solid team. You know, they do the job every year, especially since they've won the league. Obviously the finances are a lot better than they would have been if that had not happened. And I feel they'll just continue, especially with the likes of James Maddison in their team. A very, very strong side. I think 9th is about where they'll finish this season. Now in 8th, just missing out on European football, we have Everton, the Toffees. Forever the meme of the Premier League, really. I think they're just a club underachieving from what they can do with the players they have. I think Wolves have sort of overtaken them as that 7th place team that they really strive to be. Obviously, no teams outside the top 6 really think they'll get top 6 this season. I think Everton and Wolves are the 2 teams that I think can be the only teams to really push into that. But I think Everton, 8th place, a very good season. Just missing out in Europa League qualifiers, but I think nevertheless a good season for them. Now, in that 7th place spot, obviously retaining their European football title, we have Wolverhampton Wanderers. I feel a very good squad, relatively young squad as well. I feel Dendoncker, fucking hell, I struggled on that. Dendoncker and Neves in the midfield is just a bit too much. When he plays at centre back as well, he's a very, very good player, a very underrated player, I think. And I feel Wolves are just a team that's just going to continue to grow. And maybe even in a few years, we'll see them challenging the likes of the 5th and 6th positions. But for now, 7th is where they sit. Now, onto the top 6. This is where the business end of the Premier League. I have Chelsea. Now, purely for the fact that I believe Frank Lampard will be their manager. And it's not a biased perspective. I just believe he is not a good manager. He's a decent manager, but he's not a Premier League manager. I think he relied on youth a lot at Derby and his loan system a lot at Derby. And I feel he will be able to get the best out of a few of those players, but I don't think his tactics are right. I don't think his man management's right. And I feel Chelsea may be left behind, especially with this transfer embargo they've been placed upon under. Now, in 5th, just missing out on Champions League football, I have Manchester United. So that you all know who my top 4 is by now, but I think Man United are a team. This is a massive transfer window for Man United. I think if they get the players they want to get that are available, they'll do well. But I feel if they miss out on some of the big names they want, like Delight and players like that, I feel it's going to be another one of those seasons for Man United fans. Now, in 4th, reclaiming their infamous position, it is Arsenal. I feel Emery isn't doing much to benefit them, but I feel Arsenal are given this position on merit pure enough because Chelsea and United, I feel, will struggle this season with the reasons I've stated. And I feel Arsenal will keep at that same level. I don't think they'll improve too much this season. Obviously, they're quite a step off Spurs, in my opinion, but still on the same level as United and Chelsea. So a few midfield additions, obviously, to cover Ramsey's loss and to help Torreira out. I feel they'll be a very strong team, but still not good enough for that top 3. Now, in 3rd, we have Tottenham. Obviously, Eriksen wants to leave. All these players wanted to leave, wanted to join, and Ndombele is a big part of this for me because I feel he's genuinely one of the best in the world at just sort of that holding role, but it can be a very, very useful feature in your attack. And I feel that will help Poch because I think he uses that sort of midfielder quite a lot in his system, and I feel it will just really, really suit Pochettino and help Tottenham this season. Now, 2nd place once again for me will be Liverpool. I think it won't be as close as last season, I don't think. I think they did very, very well to make it close last season. But I don't think they'll improve as much as City will because City are a very promising side as well as being a very, very good side at the minute. And I think players like Jesus will only get better. Whereas I feel Liverpool's players, sort of Brewster and them kind of players, are just a shadow, just a tick behind those players. So I feel it'll take a bit more time for Liverpool's young players to become on the same level as City's players. So for that reason, 2nd place again for Liverpool. And in 1st, obviously, Manchester City. I think by far the best team in the league. Liverpool gave them a good run last season, but I do think they'll win the league by 10 points, something like that this season. Obviously, they got the best manager in the world at the minute. Some of the most money in the world. Obviously, it's not been there for them in Europe so far. Whether that will change this season, this isn't the right video for it, but I do think they'll win the league. I do think they'll storm the league as well. And there are question marks over an unbeaten season. I don't think they'll go unbeaten. I think it'll be very close, but I do not think they'll go unbeaten. Man City winning it again for me. So that's been my Premier League 2020 predictions. Let me know in the comments if you agree, which you won't because none of you did in the last video, but I don't really care. But yeah, obviously new channel rebrand, like, subscribe, see you in the next video.